say the dead don't speak, but what if they do? Welcome to Confessions from the Ghost Box, where the veil is thin, the static is alive, and real voices from the other side break through. I'm your host, Jason Balbuena, and on this channel we explore true paranormal investigations, spirit box sessions, EVPs, and interviews with guests who've come face to face with the unexplained.
So dim the lights, turn up your volume, and don't touch that dial. This is Confessions from the Ghost Box. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Confessions from the Ghost Box. Today, on this episode, we are going to take you into the history and the hauntings of the Sanger Theater. This is Echoes of the Grand Dam. If you walk along Palafox Street in downtown Pensacola late at night, you'll see a glowing marquee. Behind it, a massive Spanish Baroque theater with chandeliers, velvet seats, and ornate balconies. For almost a century, audiences have gathered here to watch plays, films, and concerts. But after the lights dim and the doors close, some say the building isn't empty. Staff have reported phantom footsteps echoing in the balcony. Electricians say the lights sometimes flash on their own, and more than one person claims to have seen a figure on stage when no one else was there. Tonight, we're stepping into the history and the hauntings of Pensacola's legendary Sanger Theater. In the early 1920s, the United States was in the middle of an entertainment revolution. Cinema had exploded in popularity. Cities across America began constructing lavish movie places. These theaters were not simple cinemas. They were experiences. Marble columns, chandeliers, elaborate ceilings, everything designed to transport audiences into another world. Pensacola wanted one too. And in 1925, that dream became reality. The Sanger Theater opened on April 2nd, 1925. Crowds packed into the new building, eager to see some of the most luxurious venues in the Gulf Coast. Opening night featured music, dancing, and a screening of the silent epic The Ten Commandments by director Cecil B. DeMille. For Pensacola residents, the theater quickly became the cultural heart of the city. Over the next decades, thousands of performers would walk across the stage, and millions of footsteps would echo through the halls. But by the 1970s, the golden age of movie palaces was ending. Television and modern multiplex theaters had changed entertainment. Like many historic venues, the Sanger struggled. In 1975, the theater closed. For 6 years, the building sat empty. Dust collected on seats, wind rattled the doors, and the once vibrant palace fell silent. But the story didn't end there. See, local residents rallied to save the building. After a massive restoration, the theater reopened in 1981 as a performing arts center. Today, it still hosts concerts, Broadway shows, and symphony performances. But the theater's long history has also produced something else: legends. Now, many theaters around the world are rumored to be haunted. Actors even have a superstition that every theater has a resident ghost. The Sanger is no exception. Reports of paranormal activity have circulated for decades. People have described voices in the empty balconies, phantom applause, unexplained footsteps, lights flickering backstage. And these reports in multiple books on Florida folklore and hauntings. But one story appears again and again. This is the story of the boiler room. According to local lore recorded in paranormal history books about Pensacola, a worker once died in a boiler explosion in the theater's basement. Now, while the details are unclear, no definitive newspaper account confirms the accident. But the legend persists among staff and paranormal investigators. Now, people who work inside the building claim that the strange activity tends to occur near the balcony and backstage lighting systems. One account described electricians installing lighting equipment for a touring show. After finishing the setup, the lights suddenly began flashing erratically. The electricians reportedly checked the wiring several times, and they found nothing wrong. The lights continued flickering on their own. Some believe this is the spirit of a worker who died in the boiler room, still watching over the theater. Another frequently reported phenomenon occurs in the balcony. Visitors and staff have claimed to hear voices coming from the upper seats, even when the theater is empty. These voices are often described as muffled conversations, almost like an audience quietly chatting before a performance begins. But when people walk up to investigate, no one is there. But one of the most detailed eyewitness stories comes from a man who spent time inside the theater as a child in the 1970s. His father occasionally managed the theater. According to his account, the only way to turn on the lights was from backstage. After turning them on, staff would walk through the theater to activate lobby lighting. During one trip to the auditorium, the lights suddenly shut off. No one had touched the switch. And in another incident, he saw ropes hanging from the ceiling rigging slowly lowering themselves as if someone was operating the fly system. But no one was on the catwalk above. The theater manager reportedly shouted towards the stage, "Stop turning the lights off!" Moments later, the stage curtains lifted as if someone had run past them. The witness never saw an apparition, but he said the unexplained events left a lasting impression on him. But perhaps the most chilling story involves a mysterious figure seen on the stage. Multiple witnesses have described seeing a woman dressed in white walking slowly across the stage. The figure reportedly appears briefly, then vanishes. Some believe she may have been a performer from the theater's early days. Others think that she may be a former patron who loved the theater so much that she's never left. No one has ever been able to identify this woman. Now, the Sanger has also attracted paranormal investigators. Some investigators claim to have recorded EVPs, which are electronic voice phenomena, inside the theater. These are faint voices captured by audio equipment during investigations. A Pensacola psychic investigator reportedly conducted an investigation inside the theater and claimed to detect unexplained EVP recordings during the sessions. These recordings are controversial. Skeptics argue that they are simply background noise interpreted as voices. But believers say they could be something more. Now, there have also been other strange reports that have been reported over the years. And over the years, staff and performers have described other strange events, like props moving without explanation, doors opening backstage, cold spots near the balcony, and the feeling of being watched during rehearsals. Now, ghost tours of downtown often include the Sanger as one of the city's most haunted locations. Visitors on these tours sometimes attempt the ghost hunting experiments inside or outside the building, using devices such as EMF meters, digital voice recorders, spirit boxes. But most investigations produce nothing, but occasionally participants report unexplained readings. But why theaters get haunted reputations? So there could be a psychological explanation for this. Old theaters are full of features that create eerie experiences. Complex acoustics that carry sound long distances, creaking wooden structures, dim lighting, long hours spent backstage alone. And under those conditions, the mind can easily interpret ordinary noises as something supernatural. But still, the number of stories connected to historic theaters is remarkable, and the Sanger has nearly a century of history behind it. So since 1925, the Sanger Theater has hosted thousands of performers, millions of visitors, countless moments of joy, drama, and emotion. Every laugh, every applause, every standing ovation, all echo through the same walls. Maybe that's why so many people feel something unusual inside the building. Whether it's ghosts are real or not, places filled with history often feel alive. The Sanger Theater has survived nearly 100 years, and it has endured wars, economic collapse, hurricanes, and changing technology. Yet the Grand Dam of Palafox still stands, still welcoming audiences to this day, still lighting up downtown Pensacola. But late at night when the theater is empty, some say those shows continue. Footsteps echoing through the balcony, lights flickering backstage, and somewhere in the darkness, an unseen audience waits for the curtain to rise. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Confessions from the Ghost Box. We will have more history and hauntings from Pensacola in the next coming episodes, so stay with us. Thank you for joining us tonight. Remember, if you hear an eerie sound or you hear that voice coming through the ghost box, there may be something there.
If you felt that static shift, you weren't imagining it. Thank you for listening to Confessions from the Ghost Box. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss a new investigation, guest interview, or message from beyond the veil. Leave a comment below and tell us what you heard, because sometimes the spirits respond when you listen twice. I'm Jason Balbuena, and until next time, keep your signal open.